nobody in this league ever has dominated like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah. You know, Kareem is the greatest. I mean, in terms of centers all time, Kareem is the #1 guy.
To me, the greatest player to ever play the game that I've seen is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
LeBron James, a shot in history. And LeBron stands alone.
How good was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? You've probably heard that question tossed around in basketball debates hundreds and hundreds of times over the years, debated intensely on social media platforms and forums, argued about passionately in neighborhood bars and living rooms across America. And if you're picturing Larry Bird on the left side of a microphone and Magic Johnson on the right side, both leaning in with incredible stories to tell, intense competitive fire burning in their eyes, then you already know exactly where this narrative is heading today. Today, we're not settling this massive question with hot takes or casual social media arguments that lack substance. We're not relying on nostalgia or highlight reels that conveniently skip important context and nuance. Instead, we're giving the floor to the actual people who lived it, the genuine legends who played alongside Kareem, against Kareem at the highest competitive level, and learned from Kareem as he revolutionized the game of basketball itself. What we discovered in deep research is something absolutely remarkable and profound, something that fundamentally changes how you see the entire conversation about who the greatest player in NBA history really was. Forget everything you've heard about Kareem being overlooked in casual debate or stuck in third place in the GOAT discussion, relegated to ceremonial mentions and dismissive afterthoughts. Forget the modern internet idea that he's just a relic of the 1970s and 1980s, a player whose peak dominance has completely faded into irrelevance and obscurity. The people who know basketball best, the ones who competed at the absolute highest level of the sport, who faced Kareem night after night in crucial finals matchups, who studied his game with intense focus and deepest respect, they see something completely different when they examine Kareem's place in basketball history. They see the greatest player to ever play the game. And real quick, if you want to push this important story out to more NBA fans and basketball enthusiasts everywhere, tap hype on this video and give it some genuine love. It helps us reach people who absolutely deserve to know what the actual legends think about Kareem's legacy and his true place in basketball history. Number 10. Let's start our discussion with Giannis Antetokounmpo, who represents one of the modern generation's greatest all-around basketball talents and players. When Giannis won his first NBA championship in 2021, he broke Milwaukee's 50-year championship drought that dated back directly to Kareem's incredible era with the Bucks. Giannis didn't just win a championship for the city and its passionate fans. He inherited something infinitely bigger and more important, a blueprint that Kareem had laid down and perfected decades earlier in that very same organization and city. Giannis has consistently and repeatedly said that Kareem set the blueprint for how every big man in basketball should approach and play the game at the highest level. He's called Kareem the greatest buck in the entire franchise's history and a true icon of professional basketball globally. What does that fundamental blueprint actually encompass in practical terms? It means immediate and measurable impact on winning basketball games. It means transforming an entire franchise's trajectory within your first few professional seasons. It means dominating on both sides of the basketball court, defending the rim at an absolutely elite level, while also scoring efficiently from every possible spot on the court. For Giannis, it meant coming to understand that the city of Milwaukee itself mattered deeply, that a player there could have profound and lasting cultural significance beyond basketball. Giannis respected the historical fact that Kareem took Milwaukee to their first championship in his remarkable second professional season ever. He transformed that entire organization completely in 1971, changing the destiny of the Bucks franchise forever and establishing their relevance. When Giannis finally won his own championship, exactly 50 years later in 2021, he was walking in the direct and deliberate footsteps of someone he genuinely recognized as absolutely extraordinary and legendary. That historical connection gave Giannis perspective on what true greatness actually looks like. Number 9. Now let's discuss Jerry West, known to basketball fans worldwide as the Logo, one of basketball's greatest all-around talents and organizational leaders in history. Jerry West didn't just play basketball at the highest level, he ran the Lakers organization itself for many years. He didn't just watch Kareem play from the stands or on film review. He had to build the entire system around him, construct an organization with purpose, figure out how to maximize his talents while protecting him from overwork and burnout. Wes called Kareem a beautiful player to watch night after night. But more importantly, he highlighted something that the mainstream media often overlooks and undervalues: consistency at the highest level over many years. Wes said that Kareem's consistency night after night was something we will likely never see again in this league or any other. Think deeply about what that statement means for evaluating true greatness and longevity. For the first full decade of Kareem's professional career, he was expected to score 30 points, grab 15 rebounds, and block 4 shots every single night, every game. That wasn't his theoretical ceiling or peak. That was the baseline, the minimum that his team needed just to be competitive. Year after year for 20 complete seasons, he delivered elite production without major injury derailing his remarkable progress. No significant drop-off happened when it wasn't supposed to happen. Wes spoke powerfully about the tremendous burden that Kareem carried as the franchise's entire foundation and most important player. West also acknowledged something deeply human and real that often gets overlooked. Kareem sometimes felt overlooked by the organization, felt taken for granted despite his immense contributions. He wanted recognition, wanted statues, wanted acknowledgement of his role in Lakers' success. But despite those feelings, despite that genuine sense of being slighted, he still showed up to work. He still performed at the absolute highest level, night after night. West viewed him as the absolute linchpin of the Lakers' success, the silent engine that made everything else work perfectly. Number 8. Bill Russell is the ultimate winner in the entire history of basketball competition. 11 championships across just 13 seasons with the Boston Celtics. When Russell examined players and evaluated them, he distinguished between those who simply had physical gifts and those who had the mental toughness to match and exceed those physical gifts. Russell called Kareem the most talented player he ever had to face in his legendary career. His tremendous reach and his exceptional footwork made him a nightmare for absolutely any defender on the court. Coming from Russell, the greatest defensive player in basketball history, someone who won more championships than anyone else, that's not casual praise or throwaway commentary. That's a significant and weighty statement from someone who studied the game at the deepest possible level. Russell served as a mentor to a young Lou Alcindor, advising him on how to navigate and handle the intense pressure of being a black superstar in America during the turbulent civil rights 1960s. Russell understood what Kareem faced beyond the basketball court itself. Kareem famously attended the Cleveland Summit in 1967 to stand alongside Muhammad Ali, the boxer who refused to fight in Vietnam, James Brown, the musician and entertainer, and Bill Russell himself. This wasn't just basketball conversation. This was about Kareem's willingness to use his platform for something larger than sports, to take social risks when it would have been infinitely easier to stay quiet. Russell respected that deeply and genuinely. He saw Kareem's intellect, the way Kareem thought deeply about the world and society, the way he carried the burden of being a lightning rod for social controversy while still dominating on the basketball court. That mental fortitude, that ability to perform under intense pressure both on and off the court, is what Russell ultimately recognized as true and lasting greatness. Number 7. Julius Erving, known throughout his career as Dr. J, is one of the most beloved and culturally significant figures in basketball history overall. He changed the game stylistically and fundamentally, brought a kind of creativity and athleticism and artistry to the court that basketball people had never seen before. His ability to create beauty on court, to make plays seem absolutely impossible, set a new standard for basketball excellence. But when Julius Erving discusses Kareem, he humbly defers to another player ahead of himself. He said directly and clearly that Kareem is the GOAT. When you look at the statistics and the impact over 2 complete decades, he stands alone above everyone else entirely. Erving has called Kareem the number 1 guy in terms of all-time players across history. His reasoning is pragmatic and compelling. If you're starting a franchise from absolutely nothing, from scratch, if you have to build an organization from the ground up, Kareem is the only player who guarantees you 20 years of legitimate championship contention. Think about how extraordinarily rare that kind of consistency is. Michael Jordan played 15 professional seasons with 2 separate retirements. LeBron has played over 20 seasons but with multiple significant team changes. Russell played 13 championship seasons. Kareem gave you 20 consecutive seasons of elite performance, appearing in 1,560 games across his professional career. That longevity combined with sustained elite performance is what Irving recognizes as the true differentiator. What's perhaps most revealing about Irving's perspective is his admission that he felt he was in Kareem's shadow during their actual playing days. Despite Irving's immense popularity and massive cultural presence, his incredible style and genuine charisma, he understood that on the actual basketball court, Kareem was the superior force. Here you have a top 10 all-time player, someone with incredible flash and style, willingly deferring to another player because he recognized the superior substance beneath the surface. Irving suggests that while certain players had the flash, Kareem had fundamental perfection that cast a shadow over the entire basketball era. Number 6. Shaquille O'Neal spent a significant portion of his career and competitive life chasing the title of most dominant player ever in NBA history. Shaq was an absolute force unlike anything basketball had seen before him. 7 feet 3 inches of pure physical power and dominance. But Shaq eventually had to reconcile his own dominance with the reality of Kareem's overall resume and legacy. Shaq made a statement that genuinely changed how we understand his perspective on greatness. He said he used to get genuinely mad when people didn't mention him in the greatest conversations, but Kareem did things on the basketball court that he simply couldn't do. Kareem is the most decorated player in NBA history period. 6 MVPs, an all-time record. 6 NBA championships. 19 All-Star selections. 15 All-NBA selections. 11 All-Defensive selections. Add in his 3 NCAA championships and 3 NCAA Most Outstanding Player awards, and you get a collection of hardware and accolades that's almost mathematically impossible to accumulate in the modern era. Shaq understands the critical difference between peak dominance and longevity combined together. Shaq had an absolutely incredible peak at his best ever. Nobody was more dominant in the paint than Shaq when he was in his physical prime, but Kareem combined a legitimate peak with extended longevity in a way that created a barrier of excellence that nobody could possibly cross. Shaq's admission that Kareem did things he couldn't do likely refers to the skill-based longevity, the way Kareem could score with finesse and touch rather than pure brute force, the free throw shooting ability that allowed him to be a consistent closer in the most clutch moments. Shaq famously struggled at the free throw line, a vulnerability that opponents exploited relentlessly. That gap between peak dominance and longevity is ultimately what Shaq recognized as the fundamental difference between being dominant and being the greatest ever. The relationship between Shaq and Kareem started cold and distant. Shaq felt criticized by Kareem, felt like the veteran was dismissive of his conditioning. Over many years, though, something shifted and evolved. Shaq came to view Kareem as the master and himself as the student within the specific lineage of Lakers centers. It's the physical powerhouse finally acknowledging and bowing to the technical master. This reinforces a larger theme: raw athleticism, no matter how impressive, eventually bows to skilled intellect when longevity enters the equation. Number 5. Isaiah Thomas was a legendary point guard for the Detroit Pistons, who competed directly against Kareem at the highest level. He's got a vantage point that comes from competing against Kareem directly, learning from watching him play, and studying his career development across several decades. Isaiah made a statement that sits at the absolute core of any conversation about Kareem's greatness. He said if you look at the total body of work from high school through his professional career, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest basketball player ever. What does the total body of work actually encompass in concrete terms? Isaiah has watched Kareem since the man was just 14 years old, followed his development closely. Isaiah argues that Kareem wasn't born a finished product at the highest level. He evolved continuously and deliberately. He underwent a genuine metamorphosis as a complete player. As a freshman at UCLA, Kareem wasn't as complete as he became in his sophomore year. The growth was rapid and significant, and it came from mentorship, from tough love from coaches and older players, from studying legends like Wilt Chamberlain and learning from the greatest coach in history, John Wooden. This metamorphosis narrative is crucial because it rejects the simplistic idea that Kareem's dominance came purely from his exceptional 7'2" frame. Height alone doesn't win MVP awards or championships or accolades. What actually mattered was Kareem's relentless work ethic, his willingness to acquire new skills, his dedication to developing the skyhook, to refine his footwork on every step, to develop his passing abilities. He became a complete basketball player in ways that transcended his physical attributes. Isaiah employs a comparison to other sports to contextualize and support his point. In tennis or track and field, the GOAT is usually the person who holds the most records. By that exact metric, Kareem's position was unquestionable for decades. Kareem lost only 4 games in his entire high school and college basketball career combined, across a 7-year span. 4 total losses across all competition. That's an absolute statistical anomaly that speaks to a level of dominance and winning that Jordan or LeBron cannot claim at any level of competition. Number 4. Larry Bird is the ultimate rival in the Kareem story, a player who faced him directly across multiple finals matchups. Bird faced Kareem in the finals multiple times over his career and studied him. He studied him intensely, tried to defend him with everything he had, attempted to solve the basketball puzzle of how to stop him. Bird's assessment carries profound weight because it comes from the perspective of someone with ego and competitiveness to match Kareem's own fierce nature. Bird said Kareem was the best. He was so smart, so disciplined, and that particular shot, the skyhook, was something you just couldn't defend. What makes Bird's commentary so powerful is the psychological dimension of what he's describing. The skyhook wasn't just hard to defend against. It was a nightmare because the shot negated entire defensive schemes and strategies. In the 1984 and 1985 finals, the Celtics tried absolutely everything possible. They positioned Robert Parrish to front him. Kevin McHale would double-team him from behind. Bird himself would help from the weak side. While Bird famously managed one rare block of the skyhook in a regular season game, a moment that lives in highlight reels, he knew over the course of a full series that the shot was defensible only in theory, not in actual practical reality. Bird emphasizes Kareem's discipline relentlessly and repeatedly. Every single possession for 20 full years, Kareem would sprint to his exact spot on the low block. That remarkable consistency forced the entire Celtics defensive system to warp around him. It opened driving lanes for Magic and James Worthy. It made Boston's defensive job infinitely harder. Bird's genuine concession that Kareem was the best player holds significant weight coming from someone with his ego and competitive fire. He's effectively admitting that while he could outthink or out-hustle other opponents, he could not solve the fundamental basketball problem of Kareem. The 1985 Finals provides perfect context for understanding Bird's respect level. After the Memorial Day massacre in Game 1, where the Lakers were completely blown out and Kareem was publicly criticized as old and washed up, nearly 40 years old, Kareem answered directly in Game 2 with 30 points, 17 rebounds, and 8 assists. He led the Lakers to victory in Boston. He went on to win the Finals MVP, becoming the oldest player ever to win that award. Bird witnessed that performance directly. He saw a player approaching retirement age still dominating the best frontcourt in the league through pure basketball skill and intelligence. That moment forged Bird's respect permanently. Number 3. Pat Riley coached Kareem at the absolute zenith of his professional career in Los Angeles. Riley understood not just how exceptionally good Kareem was, but specifically why he was truly unstoppable. Riley's perspective is tactical and granular, focused on the specific tools that made Kareem impossible to defend. Riley stated directly that Kareem was the greatest player in the history of the game. His skyhook was the most unstoppable weapon basketball has ever seen. Those are 2 distinct and powerful claims. One about overall status and stature, one about the actual specific mechanism of dominance. The skyhook functioned at a level beyond normal basketball weapons. Kareem launched the ball with a fully extended arm reaching upward, releasing it at the absolute apex of his jump, often from 10 to 12 feet away. Given his exceptional 7'2" frame and his remarkable wingspan, the release point was typically 10 to 11 feet high. That height is well above the defensive cylinder of any player who ever played. Riley notes repeatedly that nobody has ever successfully replicated the shot. Players have copied Jordan's fadeaway, Iverson's crossover, Curry's three-point range, but the skyhook died with Kareem. That lack of replication speaks volumes about the shot's extreme difficulty and Kareem's unique mastery. It wasn't just a hook shot variation. It was a high-frequency, high-efficiency volume scoring mechanism that functioned completely independently of defense. Whether Kareem faced single coverage or double teams, the mechanics remained identical. The Lakers had a safety valve, a consistent answer that no other team in NBA history possessed. Riley captured something genuinely profound when he asked Kareem what the skyhook actually felt like. Kareem, who was a jazz critic and serious cultural intellectual, replied that it felt exactly like John Coltrane playing the saxophone. That metaphor reframes everything immediately and powerfully. It transforms Kareem's game from the common criticism of boring, from the 1970s mechanical criticism, into something purely artistic and beautiful. It suggests that Kareem had mastered fundamentals so completely that he could improvise within a perfect structure, just like Coltrane mastered the scales to improvise freely. Kareem mastered footwork to unleash the skyhook from any angle imaginable with complete precision. That artistic dimension is often overshadowed by Shaq's brute force or Jordan's aerial acrobatics. But for basketball purists like Riley, it represents the absolute highest form of basketball art and excellence. Number 2. LeBron James is the only player to ever surpass Kareem's scoring record in NBA history as of now. LeBron views the captain through the lens of legacy and extended endurance. LeBron's quote carries genuine weight because he personally understands what it takes to maintain that elite level of production across multiple decades. LeBron said being able to stand in the presence of a legend like Kareem is an honor he takes seriously. He held the scoring record for 39 years because of his absolute dominance. Think carefully about what that number actually represents over time. For nearly 4 entire decades, 38,387 points was widely viewed as completely unbreakable. LeBron's pursuit of this number in 2023 revitalized the entire conversation around Kareem's place in basketball greatness. LeBron uses the word dominance to explain the record, directly countering the narrative that Kareem was merely a compiler of statistics. To average 24.6 points per game over 20 complete seasons requires a consistency level that LeBron deeply respects and acknowledges. He knows from personal experience how difficult it is to maintain that standard year after year. The interaction between the two during the record-breaking moment served as something symbolic and profound. Kareem ceremoniously handed the ball directly to LeBron in a gesture of passing the torch. But LeBron's comments emphasized that this moment wasn't about erasing or diminishing Kareem's legacy. It was about joining him on a lonely peak that only 2 players have reached in NBA history. LeBron acknowledges that the record stood for 39 years because it required a perfect storm of health, elite skill, and fortunate situation. A storm that Kareem navigated first without the advantages of modern medicine and sports science. LeBron had to match Kareem's consistency, stay healthy despite the rigors, and stay fully engaged over 2 decades plus. Modern era advancements in training and medicine might make it easier now, but Kareem achieved this when the game was far more physical, when travel was harder, when nutrition science wasn't advanced. His achievement remains remarkable. Number 1, Magic Johnson may be the single most important voice in this entire conversation about Kareem's legacy and place in basketball history. Magic partnered with Kareem during the most transformative and greatest period of his career in Los Angeles. Magic said Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest player who ever played the game. He won at every level, high school, college, and the NBA. That statement contains a structural argument that differentiates Kareem from literally every other contender for the greatest title. Magic understands levels of basketball deeply and completely. He knows what it means to dominate high school basketball, to control college basketball, and to dominate the professional game at the absolute highest level imaginable. Most legendary players excel at 1 or 2 of those levels throughout their careers. Kareem won convincingly at all 3 at the highest level. At Power Memorial Academy in New York City between 1961 and 1965, Lou Alcindor led his team to 71 consecutive victories and 3 consecutive New York City Catholic championships. He was the best player in the entire country from age 15 forward without question. That establishes a completely different baseline for evaluation. Most greats faced early obstacles or developed late in their careers. Kareem was dominant from the very beginning. At UCLA under John Wooden, the NCAA banned the dunk in 1967, specifically to slow him down. Despite that significant handicap and rule change, Kareem led the Bruins to 3 consecutive NCAA championships and an 88-2 record. No other player matches that collegiate resume. Russell won 2 titles at San Francisco. Jordan won 1 at North Carolina. Kareem's continuous dominance at the college level exceeds what most legends accomplished in their entire professional careers. When Magic arrived in Los Angeles in 1979, he found a captain who had already won multiple MVPs. But Kareem was widely viewed as aloof and seemingly joyless in his approach. Magic's contribution to the legacy helped Kareem let loose again and rediscover genuine enjoyment of the game. The 1980 NBA Finals represented the pivotal moment. Magic famously played center in Game 6 and earned the Finals MVP award. But Magic consistently and repeatedly defers to Kareem as the true architect of that championship season. Kareem was the regular season MVP that year. He dominated the series decisively until his ankle injury in Game 5, when he still managed 40 points despite carrying that significant injury. Magic's perspective challenges the modern fixation on Finals MVP as the only metric of genuine contribution to winning. He understands that without Kareem's foundational dominance, without the nightly 25 points and 10 rebounds, the Showtime fast break would have had no defensive anchor. The half-court sets would have had no reliable release valve. Magic's declaration that Kareem is the greatest is ultimately an admission that his own flashy, dazzling style was built entirely on Kareem's bedrock of excellence. Magic knows something profound about the game that many people miss. He knows that the most dazzling player isn't necessarily the greatest player. The greatest player is the one who makes absolutely everything else possible for everyone around him always. This consensus among legends, this unified agreement about Kareem's place at the pinnacle of basketball excellence, represents something truly remarkable in sports history. These are not casual fans offering opinions. These are the players who knew him, studied him, competed against him at the absolute highest level. They are basketball's ultimate authorities, and what they collectively recognize is a pattern of dominance that transcends era and defies comparison. The skyhook alone revolutionized how centers approach the game. The consistency alone set a standard that remains unmatched. The winning at every level alone creates a framework for evaluation that no other player can completely fill. Combined together, these elements don't just make Kareem great, they make him singular. They make him the one player who achieved perfection across every dimension of basketball excellence. What's remarkable is that this conversation isn't about subjective preference, or which era was better, or who had more exciting highlights. This is about legends recognizing greatness when they see it. Bill Russell, who won 11 championships and faced all the great centers of his era, calls Kareem the most talented. Magic Johnson, who played with Kareem and helped revolutionize basketball, calls him the greatest. Pat Riley, who coached him and studied every aspect of his game, calls his skyhook the most unstoppable weapon ever. These aren't casual assessments. These aren't opinions made for social media engagement. These are observations from people who lived basketball at the absolute highest level. They're observations that carry the weight of true expertise and understanding. When you accumulate testimonials like these from people of this caliber, when you see this kind of consensus among basketball's true authorities, something important is being communicated about Kareem's place in the sport. He wasn't just great at scoring. He was great at everything. He wasn't just great in one era. He was great across 3 entire decades and across every level of competition. He wasn't just dominant physically. He was dominant intellectually, emotionally, and socially. He combined all these dimensions in a way that created something that nobody else has ever quite matched or replicated. The evidence presented by these legends is absolutely overwhelming and completely irrefutable. Every single angle of analysis points directly to the same conclusion about Kareem's entire legacy: the statistical dominance, the overwhelming peer recognition, the stylistic innovation, the competitive excellence, the cultural significance. All of it converges perfectly on a single powerful, undeniable truth about basketball history. So what do we have when we listen to all these voices together carefully? We have 10 of the greatest basketball minds who ever lived, and they speak with one completely unified voice about Kareem's place. Magic validates his unrivaled winning percentage across every level of competition. Riley and Bird canonized the skyhook as the most effective tool in basketball history. Dr. J and Shaq submit to his hierarchical superiority based on longevity and accolades. Thomas and Russell revere his intellect and evolution. West and LeBron honor the consistency required to maintain greatness for 20 continuous years. Giannis recognizes the blueprint for every big man who follows. The original paradox dissolves completely when you actually listen to what these legends say. Kareem stands completely alone in the history of basketball greatness. Like this video if you truly and genuinely believe this powerful truth about basketball history. Subscribe right now for more incredible stories the legends want you to hear about. Comment below in the section who you personally think deserves the greatest title ever. Don't let this important conversation end here today. Share it with everyone who loves basketball and the legends who shaped it.